we talked about this in the last video, that coming into this game against a sub 500 Utah Jazz, coming into this game, they were 20-28. The Raptors have been playing some pretty good basketball over the last little while. Offensively, they've been struggling a little bit. But again, you're playing a down Utah Jazz team. You should be able to get the win 2 in a row, and just be feeling fantastic. But instead, Raptors lose 97-93 to the Utah Jazz in OVO night thing, whatever you want to call it. The jerseys look great. I mean, I love the look of the court. Everything looked fantastic, but the loss looked like crap. The only guy who didn't look like crap today was the big man in the middle, JV. This guy was a monster. I mean, the guy, he had foul trouble in that third quarter, and that's where they made a big run. He had his 4th foul in that third quarter, and that's where the Raptors were up by 12, up by 13. He came off the court. Pirtle goes out there. Gobert has his way, and the Raptors struggle, and at one point, they're trailing. With Rudy Gobert on the floor and Jakob Poeltl on the floor, we had a tough time. You know, Jakob Poeltl was a -6 on the court at the time. I really want to see the comparison between Gobert and Jakob Poeltl. You know, I want to see the comparison of Gobert when Poeltl was out there compared to when JV was out there. Because literally, when JV was out there, I barely remembered that Gobert was even on the team. JV was outplaying him by a mile. 28 points, 14 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, 4 blocks for JV, and this is the number we like. 12 of 16 shooting, 75%, 2 of 2 from the line, 2 of 2 from 3. His first game in his career with 2 threes, and it was 2 of 2. Fantastic. He was a +4 on the floor as well. But it was that big run in that third quarter for the Utah Jazz that really kept them in the game. And again, JV was not out there for that because he had 4 fouls. And it was a really weird back and forth type of game. The first quarter did not go well for the Raptors. However, they closed the first quarter nicely, but they were stuck 6 after 1. A very good second quarter. A 9-point. +9 in the second quarter, and you're up 3 at the half. Things are going fantastic. That's when JV really made his push and was a freak of nature in that second quarter. Then you go to the third quarter, and they were +9, mainly in the latter stages because of JV not being on the floor. And then you go to the fourth quarter. Yes, Raptors were +2 in the fourth, but they had the 6-point lead late, and they gave up some good looks. They did not knock down their shots, and they lost. Now, we'll break down DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry in a second here. But look, you talk about the magic numbers, and we're probably going to stick to these magic numbers as we go through the season, the rest of the season. 20-plus assists we've been talking about all year. Well, they had 23 assists. And I think 10 threes is a good all-around number of how your team's doing. 10 or more. The Raptors had 7 today, and they lost. If I'm not mistaken, when they've gotten more than 10, they've only lost 6 games. It's a big factor. Now, we talk about the team shooting. They only shot 39% from the field, 26% from 3, and they were getting good looks. There were times where the Utah Jazz, yes, they were playing really good defense and making every shot tough for us. But for the most part, we were not just knocking down our shots. We'll get to that in a second. 71% from the free throw line. And the Raptors out-rebounded the Jazz by 5, 52-47. And the big number here, 16 offensive rebounds to their 10. Now credit 5 of those 16 to Jonas Valanciunas. We talked about the assist numbers. We were +3, steals +3, blocks +8. We had 13 blocks. I mean, that's unbelievable. 11 turnovers in this game. And it was just a game where you're like, you're getting the looks. You just got to knock down your shots. And they weren't. We looked at the Atlanta Hawks game. Yes, we weren't really knocking down our shots, but we're playing the Atlanta Hawks. You're going to beat them. Fine. You weren't knocking down your shots, and you lost today. That's that. But you know what? You look at your two All-Stars to be even one of them to have a big game. Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan had really rough night shooting. Now, don't get me wrong. They did have 15 assists combined, and they were moving the basketball very well. However, you don't have two All-Stars for just getting assists. They're there to put up some points as well. DeMar did have 19. However, he was 7 of 23 from the field. 30%. 1 of 2 from the free throw, 5 of 7 from the free throw line, including the technical foul that he missed, and was 0 of 1 from 3 and a -7 on the floor. You look at Kyle Lowry, he did have 7 assists, right? 5 points on 2 of 13 shooting, 15% for Kyle, and he was 0 of 6 from 3. Your All-Stars were not even close to your All-Stars in the game. Donovan Mitchell, yeah, he was an All-Star in this game. Donovan Mitchell ended with 26 points on 9 of 20 shooting, 4 of 7 from 3, and he was doing unbelievable defensive things out there for the Utah Jazz. If we go through some other guys, Serge Ibaka, 10 points, 10 boards, and something I questioned of Dwayne Casey in this game was, I think it was early in the fourth quarter, CJ Miles knocked down a big 3. We come down the court, I think we get a stop, I think we get a stop and they call a timeout, or somebody calls a timeout, or they just do a substitution. CJ Miles comes out right after knocking down a 3 for DeMar DeRozan. Now, I understand DeMar DeRozan is DeMar DeRozan. You got to have him in the court late in the fourth quarter. I get that. I know it's always going to happen, and I'm not going to say it's a bad thing because he's DeMar DeRozan. It's Kyle Lowry. They're always going to be out there. But tell me why, right after CJ had a 3, he was 4 of 8 from the field, 2 of 6 from 3. Why are you taking him out right after he makes a big shot? It was, I think, DeLon Wright and Pascal Siakam were on the floor at the time as well. I want to hear what you guys have to say about that. That's just my opinion there. And, with a win today, the Dwayne Casey and the coaching staff could have been the All-Star or Team LeBron coaches, but we lose. Technically, we're not there yet. But that's just my opinion. I'm not saying that would have changed the whole game or anything. You had a 6-point lead late in the game. You let that dwindle away. You had a chance to tie it there late in the game with DeMar DeRozan. He misses the shot, and then he tears his jersey a bit. I get it. He's pissed off. I understand it. But man, this is a game we gotta try our best and forget about. This is one of the worst games I've seen from Kyle and DeMar from the scoring standpoint. Neither guy shot over 35% from the field. That's awful. But you gotta find a way to move on from it. And if we can get through, you guys get through this video and you get to this point, we gotta forget about it. We gotta remember, it's the playoffs that matters. This regular season game against the Utah Jazz. Look, if we're round 1, round 2 into the playoffs, we're not going to remember this game. But it's what you do after this tough loss that really defines a good team. You lost to the Timberwolves. You came back and did your job against the Atlanta Hawks. You lost a tough one that you should have had against the Utah Jazz. Next up on Sunday, 6 p.m. tip-off at the Air Canada Center. The L.A. Lakers come to the Air Canada Center. Look, there's your rebound game. You find a way to win that. I'm not saying it's going to be an easy game, because no game is easy unless you're playing the Atlanta Hawks. But I mean, really, there are not many teams in this league that are like the Atlanta Hawks. The L.A. Lakers are at the Air Canada Center. Not a team you take lightly, but you got to find a way to beat them and get right back in the win column, as the Raptors have done a lot this year, is getting back in the dub column. We got to find a way to do so, because then after that, the Minnesota Timberwolves come to the Air Canada Center. Very good team. They obviously beat us in Minnesota, so we got to find a way to do our job on home court against the L.A. Lakers All right, so you know what, guys? That is going to do it for this one. You guys enjoyed this video and you enjoyed JV's performance. Smack that like button. I do appreciate that. Hit the subscribe button if you guys have not already. Comment down below what you guys think of the game. Where did the Raptors go wrong? Where did they do good things? What'd you think of JV's night? I'm going to just, out of all jokes here, who's your player of the game in this one? I think we all know what we're going to answer here, but for the Raptors, because a lot of people might be smart and say, oh, Donovan Mitchell. Yeah, well, for the Raptors, who was your player of the game in this one? And we'll talk to you guys. Leafs edition, which is not till after the All-Star break. It's on the 31st January. They're at home taking on the New York Islanders, looking to win 3 straight and 4 of 5 and come out of the informal second half on the right note. And as for the Raptors, they look to rebound after tonight's tough loss to the Utah Jazz. Sunday, early evening into the night, L.A. Lakers at the Air Canada Center taking on the Raptors. Got to get back in the win column. We'll talk to you guys then.